The county was established in 1832. There's some controversy about that specific date, like when was it organized versus when was it officially. Okay, so 1830, 1832. But if you'd come here then, this was a howling wilderness. But the settlement continued. The Quakers had large families, all right, and which was another reason for their coming here, is that there was not inexpensive land available in North Carolina, especially since in the 1830s the South had converted to a cotton economy. So anyways, so you have these communities. Now the two communities that are still here, or three, well, there are three communities we need to pay attention to during this time period. One is Marion, the other is Jonesboro, and the other is Weaver. Things were slowly moving along, and then the gas boom. Mm-hmm. Okay, which 1883, I believe, 1883 to 87. The courthouse in the center of town is testimony to the gas boom. It actually was there before the gas boom, but you know, they could, even though they didn't know it at the time, they still saw prosperity coming, and that was sort of like the status symbol of having arrived in terms of other counties. You know, you tore down the old courthouse and you got a new one. Okay, and the gas boom really was a major thing. It brought industry and commerce big time to Marion. You had a whole host. Actually, there were metal trade unions or factories. There were glass making factories. There was foundry work. Okay, which making tools and things that were molded out of iron, that kind of stuff, which was a major need. And then Marion was ideally located because one of the fastest growing city in the United States was Chicago. So you had that, you had Chicago there, you had Cincinnati down here, and to the west you had Pittsburgh, okay, which were all heavy industrial places. And the major railroad that was put in, later becomes Pennsylvania Railroad, was just that. It was Pittsburgh to Louisville to Chicago and St. Louis. Okay, so that was really a major thing. And so they were able to, they gave away the natural gas. And they also sold the real estate at very reduced prices. And so you can still see the ghost, sort of, if you go west in Marion and a little bit on that side, you can see sort of the remains of old factories, or a lot of them have been taken down. But that lasted till, actually we can actually give a date. The gas played out in 1904. Now, why? Okay, well, you know, it accumulated for millions of years in these domes under the ground, and there was oil down there too, and water. Mm-hmm. Okay, that kept the pressure up, but you can only take so much out, and the pressure, you don't have enough pressure to bring it up without drilling deeper, and then you hit water, you hit oil, you know, it's a more risky deal. And the accusation is made, well, they wasted it. I don't know that they did. I mean, they actually, well, they used it for those industries, the glass business, and they made ball jars in Marion too, not just Muncie. We are used to now, natural gas is mostly transported by pipeline, underground pipeline. Well, back in the day, they built the pipelines on top of the ground because they needed them fast. Okay, and the welding art wasn't as good as it is today, and they say about 30% of that gas just leaked out of the pipe. Okay, and by the way, Gas City has sprung up and was producing a lot of glass, and interesting enough, I think it was called the world's largest producer of tin pie plates. Now, when you think about it, the pie plates were an important commodity. I mean, they were very important. You couldn't have a household without a pie plate. And it was also zinc-coated kitchenware, that kind of stuff, okay? Consumer products. And then what happened is, the 20s were sort of boom time. It was a false sort of boom time. I mean, people from France and from Bohemia, glass workers. Now, there was a level at which glass making was a skilled trade. Okay, now they managed to, like they did in most industries, they brought it down from a skilled trade to an industrial process. So a lot of the farms went under because they had overproduced they produced in World War I, and there was not the markets for all that stuff. And so farms were in trouble, people moved off to farm, and so it was a rapidly industrializing economy. And then came the Depression. Then World War II, and there was a great deal of prosperity in the 1950s, as there were throughout Indiana. There was a lot of industries came to the smaller towns, like Martinsville, like Marion, like Anderson. And a lot of it around this area was automotive, like General Motors, the stamping plant, metal fabricating plant it's called, okay, which supplies parts for GM trucks in Fort Wayne. So they just go right up the road. And it's been the main contributor of tax revenue to the whole county. I mean, if it goes, we're in deep trouble. Now, we also had more. We had Dana, which was a part supplier, which employed like 2,000. Okay, brought people to Marion, and it filled the schools. I mean, Marion High School was huge. It was packed. They couldn't build buildings fast enough. It was just packed. Factory at RCA out by the college. That big lot, they're putting some the bakery places there, and they're putting in a high-tech thing out there. RCA employed 2,000 people. And it was actually, it had a lot of impact on all of South Marion, because that factory had opened up in 1926, not as RCA. RCA didn't come about till later, but it was radios, and then even they started television production in 1940, but they had to stop because of the war. And then RCA came to town. And there were a lot of people in Marion that worked at RCA, but whole families. The dad worked at RCA, mom worked at RCA, grandma worked at RCA, the kids worked at RCA. It was good, steady employment. It didn't pay as much as General Motors, but it paid well. I mean, you could buy a house, and not all, but a lot of kids were able to go to college. In the 70s, really rocked Marion badly because of the trade situation changing, and RCA went out of business, and it was sold to General Electric, and then it was sold to a French concern, and then it was closed. And those people, I mean, their whole lives were tied up with that particular thing.